If you've been listening to the podcast for the last month or two or so, we have been talking about and working on separate projects. I've been trying to complete a YouTube video and a painting, and Mike's been trying to upload an app to the App Store. All three of these things by June 1st. Today is June 3rd, and we're going to talk about how we did it. Because we did it. We succeeded. We both finished on time. At the last second, I finished, I think, 10 minutes before 12 o'clock on June 1st, and Mike finished, I don't know, an hour before.
About an hour, but I finished an hour before the deadline, but 2 hours after you, because I'm 3 hours behind you, so
right.
Hard to say who
it felt
was more down to the wire.
Felt like I was ahead, but I guess I wasn't. So how did it feel? I mean, this is sort of a big deal for you. I mean, you uploaded an app for the first, you completed an app for the first time, personal app. It's been a while. So how did it feel?
Well, I have to say there was a bit of an asterisk for me. So my goal was to upload and release an app publicly to the world by this date. And I think we had about 2 months in total to do it, which is very, very ambitious, especially for me, who tends to be sort of a perfectionist and can just spend endless amounts of time on any given feature or idea, whatever. So that was very hard. My goal was to publish it to the world, and that didn't happen because I messed up the business side of things a little bit. And I did not realize that the app stores require something called a DUNS number, DUNS number, which is this weird made up number thing that you have to get. Like, you form a business and then you have to send this form into, it's like this private organization called Dan and Bart Street or something weird, and they just send you this email back in all caps like, thank you, we'll get this to you in 30 days. And I have to wait 30 days for this number that nobody seems to know what the hell it does. Anyway, I got to get that and then give it to the app stores. So I don't have that number, so I can't register with the app stores. So I can't make it public, but I was at least able to finish the app and put it into testing, or public testing, so to speak, for the iOS app store, and create a public link. So I'll actually put the public link in this video if anybody wants to try it out on iOS. So a little bit of half credit there, but otherwise I did complete the feature set and the app and everything.
You completed the app.
Yes.
So I will accept it.
I feel a little bad, but still,
it's a B plus.
I'll take it. Yeah,
but it's going to be available on the App Store, right? I mean, you are working on doing that. Do you know when?
Well, I have to get the DUNS number, and then I have to put it in for real review. It went through test flight review. Like, Apple reviews everything, even for testing, which is amazing. But I have to wait for that. So I'm guessing it'll be 25 days at this point, maybe a little longer for review times, which is interesting because my plan was to just go as hard as I could for 2 months, burn myself out, not worry about burning myself out, just go as hard as I realistically could, and then limp across the finish line, send it out, and not care anymore. But a couple things happened that were interesting. One is this DUNS number thing, which, because it's giving me an extra 30 days, I'm thinking, okay, well, I have 30 days. So what do I actually want to do with the app in 30 days? And I was expecting to be just exhausted and ready to spend a week on a mountaintop eating berries. But I actually feel really good, like surprisingly good about the whole process. And I forced myself to take yesterday off because that was June 2nd. But today, I'm ready to get back to it and ready to work on stuff. I really, really enjoyed the process far more than I realized. And so I'm actually pretty excited about spending the next 30 days, trying to get some new features that I didn't think would be realistic to get in before. And so I'm already working on that today, which is great.
Cool.
Yeah. I'll get into more about my experience, but we talked a week ago and you were in a bit of a rough spot. Just at a high level, how are you doing? I mean, you did finish both the video and the painting, which wasn't a given as of last week. I was definitely going to finish one way or another, but you had a lot still to do. How do you feel?
Yeah. Well, I took a day off of work, so I had Friday and Saturday to basically finish the entire painting, which I would say it was probably at 60% done or something. And I was not sure that I could do it. I mean, I'm very proud of myself for finishing it. I felt like a superhuman. It just sort of, I don't know, it just happened. And it was kind of thrilling and terrifying. And I will say the talk we had, was it last week, about this, where you told me my whole reputation would be destroyed if I didn't finish, and no one would take me seriously if I didn't do it. I liked that a lot. It motivated me, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. And there was this weird sort of calming effect with the looming deadline, because it just kind of made the decision of, I'm not doing anything else but painting. There is no, wondering, do I feel like painting today? Am I at my best? It didn't matter. You're painting today. You don't know what to do? Doesn't matter. You have to paint. You get stuck? Doesn't matter. You have to keep painting. You feel tired? Doesn't matter. And weirdly, there's sort of a calming effect to that, because I didn't have to wonder. So that was kind of nice. And I kind of ran into this. I kept getting frustrated and then sort of distracted and whatever. So I was like, man, I need something to just keep me in the seat. And what I used to do, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, when I would do these oil paintings, I would just throw like a TV show on in the background behind me so I couldn't really see. And as long as it's a TV show that you don't, that you've seen many times before, it's not too intense, you don't really care that much, it works nice, because you sort of just feel calm and like you're watching TV. So I put on Twin Peaks, and that was just perfect, because I've seen that a few times. It's not, it's not something you have to watch, really. I don't know. It was the perfect vibe. Threw on Twin Peaks in the background, and it just kept me sitting there and kept me painting, and it was very enjoyable. I mean, yeah. So that it turned out actually quite nice. I'm pretty proud of myself. Maybe we can get into that more later. But I guess the other thing was the YouTube video, and I uploaded that before the deadline because I wanted to just totally shift. Because if I didn't upload it, I would have kept thinking about it and kept trying to change things or whatever. So I just uploaded it, got that out of the way, and then got straight onto the painting. And so there was this weird thing that sort of worked out really well, where I uploaded the YouTube video, which of course made me want to think about that and check, how it's doing and read comments and everything. But at the same time, I totally had to focus on the painting. But what happened was, because I had uploaded the YouTube video and my brain is sort of thinking about that, it sort of allowed me to care, or to feel less pressure about the painting, because my brain was sort of split in two. So I'm thinking about both of them. And it actually just worked out really well, because I wasn't so nervous about how well the YouTube video would do. And I wasn't so pressured about, making sure this painting was the best thing ever. So I was just kind of in this back and forth state of mind in a very non-stressful way. It was just kind of exciting. So it was weird. They just kind of balanced themselves out, and it just felt pretty good.
Okay, hold on, because I want to respond to a couple things you just said. So first, the calming effect that you noticed was something that was very present for me as well, which was surprising.
Odd.
You would,
Yeah.
you would think that having this looming deadline, you're gonna make things public. It feels very scary, but it in a way removed a lot of the existential dread from it, because, like you said, you're not really making choices anymore. You're just doing it. I would sit down, and I mentioned this last week. I worked a lot on this. I mean, many days were 12 hours or even 14 hours. Pretty much wake up to go to bed, I would work on this. And there's something about going through the morning routine, sitting down, opening the laptop, get the notebook ready, get the coffee, maybe breakfast, whatever. I think, okay, I'm going to do this for the next 12 hours. And I'm not worried about that. That's not a choice I'm debating. It's just that is what we are doing. And so you just settle into that very large session of work. And yeah, something about it was just weirdly comforting. And I think having done that for quite a while, not every day from the past 2 months was like that, but that's what I really worked up to. And I spent most days just very focused on this stuff. I think in the same way that your brain can really get uh, habituated to being distracted all the time and doing a lot of, novelty and internet browsing and stuff, I felt like my brain really got wired into doing these very long sessions of work and being really focused to the point where it felt like something I wanted. I would almost crave doing that in a way versus, I don't know, walking around doing other random stuff. Like I really wanted to get my mind back into that. So it actually felt really great.
Well, that was the same thing with me, in that I think we had, I don't remember when we talked, whatever. It was, the painting was due Saturday, and I think Thursday I was trying to work on it after work. I was like, man, I have to work on this no matter what. And I just kept getting so frustrated with it. I don't know. I hadn't adjusted. And
Mhm.
so I'm working on it and I can't really focus. It was uncomfortable. And if you remember last week, I was talking about how I really felt just done with art and everything. Or I had
Yeah.
reached this point sort of in this frustration that I didn't want to work on anything. I was just over it. And having that last little kick last week to start working on it again, it's like, okay, somehow I have to figure out how to get my brain into this. And so on that Thursday and Wednesday, whatever, I'm just feeling the resistance. I'm trying to get into this thing, but I just can't.
Mhm.
And then something happened where, I would set the timer for 20 minutes, I'd work on it, and I'd get through it, but it was kind of frustrating, and then I'd do it again. And then I'm thinking, I want to take a break or something. This is kind of annoying and whatever. I kept pushing myself with the timer. But then something happened where, you set the timer and then it goes off sort of in the background of your mind. And then you just keep working and you keep painting. And then you look up and 3 hours have gone by. You just think, oh, yeah, that's the place that I want to be. I remember now. I haven't felt that in so long.
Yeah.
And so then it was, oh, I just need to stay in that. And I did for the next, on that Friday and Saturday. I'll throw a TV show on in the background. You
Mhm.
just kind of go. And I had just kind of forgotten how to get to that place. And once I found it, it was a lot easier to get back into it. And it was wonderful. And at the end, when I finally finished, at the end, I wasn't even thinking about the painting itself. I was thinking about that feeling. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want that back. I want to do this all the time.
Yeah.
I want much longer periods of me working on this stuff because it feels so good. And I'm just really happy to have experienced that for the first time in a very long time.
Same.
And yeah, I really missed it. And I think I sort of regained this love of painting. And I mean, really, because
No, that's just
most of the time,
that's a huge thing to say, and that's fantastic.
yeah. But I mean, most of the time I'm working on it in short bursts,
Mhm.
when I can on the weekend. And I blew off yard work that should not have been blown off. My grass and weeds are very high right now. I need to mow the yard.
Oh, I blew
And
off a
dishes, I
lot
mean,
of stuff to make this
yes.
happen for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot that's been piling up, that I put off. But man, I just I yeah, it felt really, really good.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah.
Okay, couple other things. First, I know we're 15 minutes in, but can we actually kind of show
Yeah.
what we did to some degree? I know that not everybody's on a video platform, but show your painting. I'll
Okay.
try and show off my app a little bit. Okay. And I'll describe what I'm seeing for audio people. So
Okay, sure. This is not whatever.
there we go.
It's yeah.
That's
Might
great.
actually be backwards. It's backwards. Whatever. Just describe so I can put it down.
When you look at it, is the person in the diver helmet on the left of the rabbit, like your left?
He's on my right.
Okay, then I think it's backwards.
Okay, well, whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm seeing this maybe a
Do you, you don't need to describe it. We'll just put a
you
link
describe
to
no,
it
no, you
somewhere.
just describe it. Say what it is.
It's a boy with a dive helmet sitting on a rock in the forest with a rabbit next to him.
Okay.
Oh, and the dive helmet is glowing. That I don't want to describe. It just feels
All right, fine. I won't make you describe.
Yeah, but to give a size difference.
Oh yeah.
This is the current one that I did, and this was the squid one
So it's
that I just got
twice
back from the show.
as
It's-
big, basic,
it's-
or more than twice as big.
Yeah, it's like a third of the size of the squid.
I I don't know which I like better. I won't say that, but in terms of the impact of the painting, for me, just as a viewer, I don't find the largeness of the painting to matter that much. I mean, I'm not seeing them in person, so it could be a little bit different, but I feel like I'm not missing a lot by you having done a smaller painting, if that makes sense.
You're also seeing it through a small computer screen.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
for sure.
when you see stuff in person, the size makes a big difference.
Okay.
And I realized that when I did my skull tree painting that's over there. It's tiny. And compared to the squid painting, it doesn't have impact
Mhm.
like the bigger painting. But yeah. Anyway, that's my painting. I guess you can't really hold up your app. Or maybe you
I
can.
guess
Yeah,
I
you
can.
can.
It
Yeah.
won't. I can't put it close because the camera is a fixed focus, so you kind of have to see it small. But that's what it looks like.
It's
It
pretty.
is. The design is heavily inspired by the Fallout 4 user interface and the user interfaces that they showed in the Amazon series Fallout. And the reason is that as I was working on it, I was watching Fallout, and
Nice.
the end. That's what it comes from. But so it is built on this CRDT platform that I've mentioned before that is a little bit too technical and boring to talk about, but let's just say it's a very unique thing that I've built, and I'm very, very satisfied with it. There's issues with the app that need to be fixed and a lot of features that aren't there, but all in all, I'm very satisfied. I love that I was able to do something that I feel good about, and not just feel good about having built, but I felt good in the process. Like the act of building it was very satisfying, and I was able to do this inside of sort of 2 months. I built this app in 2 months, but the that core thing that I built it on top of, I've been building for quite a while. So it's hard to say how long it really took. But I'm very, very proud of this. Very happy. I use it myself all the time, and it makes me happy when I use it. So I'm 10 out of 10 in terms of my personal feeling about this experience.
Well, I haven't had a chance to try it yet. I was gone all day yesterday. I've been at work all day today, and I got home. I was like, man, I need to set it up. So I started setting it up, and then it was time for dinner, and then now we're doing this. So I have not tested it out yet, but I'm excited to.
It is a calorie tracking app, so it's not a thing that someone would want to use unless you wanted to do that. I'm not trying to.
Okay, I'm not that excited
anyone.
to use it, but I'm
just saying
I
it
want
may
to
not
see
make a lot of sense for you if you're not trying to track your calories. Then it's going to be a tool you don't want to use. But anyway, actually, I would love to hear your feedback on just the look and the feel of the interface, because that's something I think you could maybe have some good insights into.
Well, I can do that.
Yeah. I've already had 3 different people out of my relatively small tester pool message me and say, I literally cannot figure out how to even log a food. Like,
okay, that's a problem.
yeah, and it was this small but very critical user interface error that I made that I have to fix. But there's just, you have to
Well,
tap
maybe
into a
it's
certain
best you're
thing, and it's not intuitive at all. Yes, I know. It's good that I'm testing it instead of
yeah.
releasing it.
Well, I also did the YouTube video, and I don't think we should watch that live right now, but
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Could do Dan reacts to Dan.
I think the YouTube video, the first one that I did, this is my second one. The first one I uploaded, and I just felt this wave of, it feels dramatic to say, but kind of self-hatred or just total intense, excruciating cringe of myself. Just, every time it would autoplay or something, just hearing my voice, and just, God, hated it. And just the thought of people I know seeing this, and I don't know, it was just, it was painful. I mean, it also felt good to have finished it and uploaded it and start my YouTube journey, but it just hurt a lot. However, when I uploaded this one, there was maybe, a tiny bit of that, but overall, it felt good. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. A couple things I would probably change, but whatever. And yeah, it also felt pretty good to upload this. And then I think it also helped to have the painting to jump to. I didn't worry about it too much, but feedback has been good. I don't know. I'm pretty happy with it. It's
I
not, it's not getting millions of views or anything. It's no
oh,
Mike Music Theory video
uh,
from,
all right. Let's make a rule.
mid 2000s.
Let's
No,
make
I'm
a
not agreeing
rule
to the
that we
rule.
can just never talk about that because it
I
just
disagree. Yeah.
whatever. Well, in terms of that's a tremendous upward arc of not being overwhelmed by self-hatred like the last one. So that's great. Also, I just want to say on the video, I watched it and I mean, I thought it was a improvement from the last one, but one of the clearest signs I think is that there's a couple moments that have some real genuine humor. Like there's some jokes that I think come across really well and are well timed, and you are able to make the joke. And I feel like that's a really good sign that things are doing well. Like when actual humor comes across, not just some super canned, cringy, you know, pun or something, but when it's actually a well-timed joke, that's a sign that you're at a comfort level to where that can work. And to me, that's a really great sign of progression.
Yeah, I'm pretty funny.
Hilarious, in
Yeah.
fact.
Now, uh, that's something I really wanted in this video, because I thought my
Yeah.
first one was just a little too serious and a little too,
Mhm.
I am an artist, and it
Yeah.
was too much, I think. So this one, I just wanted to relax, kind of have fun, and see if I could throw in a little humor in there, and
Yeah, I think it
it
works.
made me feel better. I think it's sort of,
Yeah.
it gives you this sort of forgiveness of, if you can be funny, you can pretty much do anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But okay, I just wanted to make a comment on this. The split pressure thing that you mentioned
The what?
has
Oh, the split, like
like
doing two
having
things at
different
once.
things to where instead of being additive, it's almost like they kind of take pressure off of each other. I
They
really like that.
complement each other. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, and you have this feeling it's like having multiple shots on goal in a game rather than just one. Or you have the video and you want it to do well, but it's not like the only thing that's happening inside of this few months. You're doing other stuff and you care about that too. And so if you create the video, you release it, let's say it does great, that's awesome. But if it doesn't, that's not totally soul crushing because there's other stuff you're working on. Like I had that feeling too because I was working on my space repetition app, and this was kind of the break from working on that app, which is a weird
Mm-hmm.
way to take a break by developing something else, but that's kind of how it worked out. And so there's a big part of me that was able to be pretty relaxed about this because in a way I'm thinking, well, I care about this. I want it to be good. I want it to do well, hopefully. But also, once I'm done, I'm going to be working on the other thing that I'm going to eventually release and hope it does well and all that. So it just takes a lot of pressure off and got me into a much more relaxed state of mind. I think one of the biggest themes or the things that really made this past couple months feel really good was that I felt pretty relaxed about it the whole time. I mean, there was a few days or a few moments of just thinking, oh my God, I have a problem. I can't fix it. I've made a huge mistake. I'm stupid. I'm an idiot. Why did I ever think this was a good idea? Like there were those moments for sure, but mostly it was pretty chill. I'm just kind of floating around, fixing stuff, working on problems, and then I eventually got it done. And I have this feeling of, well, I really hope this does well. I really hope that people like it, but in some ways I can't control that. And I'm not trying to take over the world. I'm just trying to build something cool that makes me happy, and I've done that, and I'm not finished, but I've done that. And so, like in my mind, it's an A+, and I'm gonna go back to something else, and I don't have to be super stressed about how it does. It's a really nice feeling there.
I realized this a while ago. I definitely observed it heavily during this process, but I've realized I've run into this problem many times before where you get so obsessed, and obsessed is probably the right word for it.
Hmm.
You upload a video, or I'll upload, a reel or a painting or something, some kind of release that
Yeah.
means a lot to me in some way, and your brain just obsesses over it. How's it doing? What do people think about it?
Right.
Whatever. What could I have done better? It doesn't matter really what the thoughts are. You're just sort of locked in on it. And I remember trying to come up, because it would kind of break me in a way where you're staying up late, you ruin your schedule,
Hmm.
for the next couple days or something, you're just sort of locked in and you can't let go. So I found out that the only way to break free of that particular feeling of obsession with something like that was the next thing. It's like the only cure for it.
Yeah.
And as soon as you start working on the next thing, that's what your brain goes to. It's like you can't get rid of the feeling of caring about something that means a lot to you. It's just not going to go away. But if you just, if you, you can shift it to the next thing. And that seems to be the only cure. And so I was feeling that a lot with this, upload a video. You start obsessing, and then you just sort of shift it. Okay, now it's the painting. But this was a little bit different in that they were kind of happening in tandem, which doesn't usually happen, but I don't know. Maybe that's
No, I completely agree, and I have found that for myself as well. One thing that I find interesting is that if you are the type of person who tends towards obsession, you can get obsessed with just about anything, and how valuable or productive those things are is pretty irrelevant to whether or not you're obsessed. You can become obsessed with playing Hearthstone. You can become obsessed with, I don't know, identifying plants. You can become obsessed with creating something, playing music, painting, building, anything. And pretty often, at least for me, if I'm not in the constant state of distraction, which that is a bit of an antidote to being obsessed, I think, in a way. It's a very bad one, but I can waste all my time just doing kind of gross stuff and just scrolling. But outside of that, like I'm probably just going to get obsessed with something. And the the one thing I want to try and be sure of is that I'm obsessed with something that I want to be obsessed with. I can go through the exact same experience. You put something out there, upload a video to YouTube or whatever, and then you're obsessed with that. You're obsessed with checking the view numbers constantly. What does that do for you? I mean, it's
right.
utterly a waste of time. You would lose literally nothing if you just checked it one time days later, but you're obsessed. And I completely agree. The antidote to obsession is not to just decide not to be, because I'm not sure how practical that is. I think it's to,
It doesn't work. It
yeah,
just
point
doesn't work.
yourself in a different direction on something that is worth being obsessed about, that you're going to be happy about a week later. So, what are you doing? Are you
Yeah.
watching
I'm
television?
trying to
Did a,
face my fans.
did a boring show come on? Is it Murder
No,
She
no.
Wrote?
Yeah, I'm watching Twin Peaks in the back.
Right.
No, I was
Oh,
trying to shift the fan,
I did
but
want to say that I ended up doing kind of the same thing, for as adamant as we are about I'll be focused all the time and everything, I ended up, doing this 12-hour session or something. I would often, typically at the same point in the day, around kind of mid-afternoon, I would put something on, like a Twitch channel. I've been watching weird Twitch DJ streams, or I just find something on YouTube to watch. But it had to be the right thing where it was light enough to where it's
Right.
not really going to distract me, but it's just sort of a presence, and it made me feel more comfortable sitting there. And at some points, I would get really focused, and I would have to stop it and just not be interrupted at all. But otherwise, I'm doing something more menial, and it was just really nice to have it on. So I ended up gravitating towards that same kind of thing too. And
It is interesting.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I've heard a lot of artists, you know, will turn the TV on in the background while they're painting.
Mhm.
I found when I start, for the day, I can't have the TV on
Same.
or
Yeah.
music or anything.
Absolutely
I gotta,
not. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it becomes menial. You know, I'm painting a rock. I don't need to
Right.
figure out some giant problem solving. Maybe I should have, but
Well,
I need to just spend a
yeah.
lot of time painting it and just sort of thinking about it, but it doesn't have to be super serious. It's not
Mhm.
some big analytical problem solving thing. It's just I got to be there for it for a long time. So the low key show in the background seems
Mhm.
to really help that.
Yeah, I would find that for a long work session like that, I would kind of fall in and out of different states where certain problems need to be thought about intently and require a lot of just understanding, and in some cases thinking outside the box and doing difficult design. Like there was that, and I'm not watching a show while I'm doing that. In fact, a lot of times I would get up and walk around the neighborhood, and in some cases talk into my voice recorder and map things out that way, which was I want it, probably not today because it'd take forever, but I want to talk about the voice recorder thing because I've kind of applied my AI transcriber summarizer system to myself and taking voice notes. And I'd love to talk
That
about that.
is okay. That's something I would like to try out. We will let's do an episode on that
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something another time. But I'm interested in that.
yeah.
Um,
But anyway, to try to stay on topic for me, yeah, and we'll talk about that. I would do that a lot. I would go through these periods of having to really think and get down into a deep level for certain things. But there was a lot of other stuff that was just simpler, and I'm just kind of fixing little bugs or making tweaks and, change something, see what it looks like, change it again, that kind of stuff. And that would just naturally oscillate throughout the day, where typically in the morning it takes a little bit to get going, but then I have a lot of energy and a lot of ability to think and focus, and I would not be watching a show or anything at all in the morning, not even music. But
mhm.
later on after lunch, then I'm really not in that mindset anymore, and so I'm doing simpler stuff. I got a show on. I'm just kind of sitting there working on whatever simple things, and then I would typically have this other kind of focus session where later on I would start to get really locked in again. And that's just this sort of natural arc that kind of emerged. Point being, like, I don't think anybody is operating at, absolute S tier level the entire time. There's this natural up and down. And for me, kind of riding those waves and just accepting where I was at was very helpful to me.
Yeah. Can I ramble on a little bit about my painting
Yeah,
or
totally.
vent? Can I vent about?
You can
It's
do
not
whatever you
really
want.
venting.
This is
Okay.
our podcast.
I want to talk about my painting a little bit. I don't really want to talk about good or bad. Do I
Okay.
think it was good or bad? The feeling of finishing this was really kind of special to me because I've had this feeling with stuff at work all the time where I have a deadline, I have to finish, you buckle down and you finish it. And I just know now, no matter what it is at work, if I'm given a tight deadline, somehow I will figure it out. And I have that confidence gained from years of doing it. It's weird, but I just have that. It's like no matter what, I'll finish it. And I can guarantee you give me the check, I'll give you a product no matter what. And it's really cool to have that confidence.
Yeah.
Uh So for this is an oil painting. This is not something I get to do every day. It's sort of rare. This is my third one in a year and a half, or maybe it's been 2 years. I don't know, but it doesn't happen often. And I've had some sort of vague deadlines sometimes, but I've never had a for real crunch time. Is it possible you have to finish this painting in 3 days type of thing?
Yeah.
I mean, we had maybe 2 months or something, but I hadn't been able to work on it in that amount of time. So, it's a week out or whatever, and I don't really think it's possible, but I have to do it. So this was a new situation for me, and oil paint it had not happened really before. Maybe some things kind of close to it, but this was kind of new, and it it worked, which was weird, which meant that I've probably been taking my time too much in past paintings. Whereas if I could slap a deadline on it, I might be able to wrap it up much quicker. However, okay, so I'm really proud of myself for that, and I feel great about that. The painting itself is a different story in that, I don't want to sound like a broken record. Oh, I don't like my painting every time I finish a painting. And it's not that I don't like it. There's just, it, it suffers from some things that I'm not going to critique my own painting here, but there are many things in it that I wish I had done differently, or I could fix or something. And part of me really wants to just sort of keep working on it and change a bunch of things. But I think, and this sort of goes out of the conversation that we're really talking about here and sort of going into the future, but I think I'm just going to leave it for about a month and not touch it. And then if I want to change some things, maybe I'll do that. But I want to keep the attitude of continuing to move forward and go for, quantity here, in that I need a bigger volume of stuff. Whether or not it's the best thing I've ever done ever can sort of take a back seat, and maybe I'll figure that out later. But I want to learn the lessons from this and apply it to the next thing, whatever it is. So this process, I'm just sort of reveling in its weirdness, in that we slapped a deadline on this stuff. I wrapped it up very quickly, which is almost like its own skill that I just realized that I guess I have as a human, in that I can finish an oil painting that quickly, which did not seem possible before. So that means I could finish other ones quickly, maybe, possibly. And is there some way to mix, better preparation for a painting and couple that with, crunch time and deadlines, and make a really good, solid painting in a short amount of time, or shorter amount of time? So I'm feeling this weird feeling of, this might be sort of the first time in this little do your own personal art journey that I've had, in that I actually feel like I'm able to sort of let go for a second instead of just working and working and working on the same thing over and over until I finally give up or something, and then call it done.
Yeah.
I did the best with what I could in the time frame that I had, and I could keep working on it, but I think I'm going to choose to move on. Maybe come back to it later, but I'm going to move on for now and just try to keep moving. I don't know. I'm just sort of excited about this feeling. We'll see if it goes anywhere, but
Have you ever played a roguelite game? I know you
I
don't.
don't even know what that
I
is.
know you don't know what
Yeah.
that is. That's just the only way to open that conversation, is to ask you a question I know you don't know the answer to. So a roguelite game, or roguelike, is whatever. I won't get into that. There's a type
A
of game.
roguelike?
There's
Roguelike?
two. I don't want to explain it because it's so irrelevant. There's a type of game called a roguelike, and then a roguelite. And I don't know who picked those names, but they're idiots, because they're just so hard to even differentiate the sound, never mind learn what they mean. Basically, both kinds, with some small variations, are a type of game where you start out, you're some character on some adventure doing something, and you go through the world and you die. And when you die, you don't have extra lives, the game starts over. The difference, I'll go ahead and say it, between a roguelike and a roguelite is that in a roguelite, you have some form of meta progression. So it may be that you make it through, you unlock a new weapon, you die, the game starts over, you're back to square one, but now you have access to this new weapon. That's a roguelike, or a roguelite. In a roguelike, there's no meta progression at all. Again, the names are so stupid. But anyway, it's a type of game that sounds kind of awful because you play through it, you die, and then you just have to start over. And you play through it again and you die and you have to start over. And you're like, man, this is tough. But every time you get a clean slate, you get to think, okay, how do I want to do it this time? I made these mistakes last time. Your skill just starts to improve. Whatever type of game it is, you just get a little bit better at the mechanics of it and pattern recognition and everything. And they are some of the most addictive games out there. Slay the Spire is a roguelite. Hades is a roguelite. There's tons of roguelites, and there's some of the most popular games. And I mean, I love them. I've been playing both of those games plus others. There's just something really enticing about that feeling of you make this run, you die, it's frustrating, you're upset, you wish you had made it farther, but you can't help but just start thinking about the next run. Like, oh, I could do my build a little differently, or I think if I just did this or that, whatever. And I think it is probably a good way of thinking in terms of life and our endeavors. You paint a painting, and yes, you could sit there and spend forever on it. But what if you just started again on a new one? You get to think totally fresh. Like, okay, what am I going to do this time? And you take your shot, you make your run, you get to the end, and then start again.
That sounds exactly
Yeah.
what it feels like. Yeah. You yeah, you get so tangled up in the current life that you have, for the painting or for the game. And you just get so involved with it, and then you die or you finish the painting
Yeah.
and you think that that's all that matters. And then I guess your game starts back up again and you start doing it again, and then your brain is set on that.
Yeah.
And I felt this sort of fork in the road of, do I just keep working on it until
Mhm.
I feel better about it? Or do I just go on a new adventure and click start again or new game
I
or
think
whatever?
I think
And
you
I think
re-roll.
I'm gonna click new game. Yeah,
Yeah.
and let's just try again, see if I can. Yeah. So, but okay, maybe we could zoom out a bit more, right? We just went on this deadline adventure, right?
Yeah.
Together, and that was fun. And I do not want to agree to something today, but
Neither
soon,
do I.
yeah, soon I think, we'll do some thinking, whatever. But we might want to think about making this cycle into sort of a regular thing, because clearly it worked. I mean,
Mhm.
we got stuff done, which we don't often get stuff actually done. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
something about this that worked, and it's kind of fun. And well, I wouldn't have said that a week ago or 2 weeks ago, but at the end, I guess I could say it's fun.
Right.
And we did it, and now you can sort of relax. I mean, you're not relaxing; you're gonna keep
Yeah, I
updating things, but
kind of have a bonus
you
round
did it.
here,
I mean,
but yeah.
even if I was still working on the painting and changing things, it's a different mode because I did it. It's at a point where I could turn it in, to the entity that calls for it or whatever.
Yeah.
If I have a pretend client or something, it's at a point where I could turn it in. So anything that I do on top of that is just sort of, it's different. It's a different feeling.
Yeah.
It's after the fact. So you can kind of just relax. We did it. Our reputations weren't completely destroyed, We're fine.
Yeah, I was being a little bit over the top there with that, but glad it had the right effect. So I was thinking about that too. Because of the way things worked out, I have this bit of a bonus round here where I've got an extra 25, 30 days to add some other stuff to this app. So I do want to take that very seriously. I'm not going to work quite as hard as I was the past 2 months because that's just not super sustainable. But, I want to be working on that and be focused. I think I'm taking a trip to Florida at the end of, or in about a month. So that'll probably be kind of the end point of my cycle. I'll take a bit of a break. And then I don't know. At that point, I think I would be interested in thinking about the next cycle, whatever that happens to mean.
Yeah.
I feel very strongly that part of what made this work and feel good was that the scope was right, where we didn't just try and do something impossible or far too big or too small to where you wind up, whatever we did was going to inflate itself to that amount of time. It could be,
Right.
go cut your grass. It would have taken me 2 months. Like, if whatever it is, it's going to fill the time. So getting that part of it right, I think, is important. So whatever the next cycle is, I want to be careful to really think about it and get it right. Obviously, we can't just go super hardcore, crank to 11 all the time. It's not
No.
sustainable. So I don't know, but I would love to think about how do we design the next piece of that. And maybe if some of the viewers or listeners have their projects, you could kind of hook into our cycle and make some form of public pronouncement of what you want to do and take it very seriously and get it done. Might be interesting to kind of bring other people on board a little bit too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not saying we come up with deadlines for the sake of doing it and, making a show out of it or whatever. I just mean this was
No,
this is genuinely pretty cool because these are personal projects.
right.
There is no client here. And this is not what we currently did, but the idea of being able to complete personal projects
Mhm.
is sort of the holy grail of people trying to do their own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. We saw that.
Yeah.
I definitely saw that. You seem to be pretty cool through the whole thing, so bravo. But it's
Well,
hard to complete
I had
stuff.
some low points for sure. There actually was.
Yeah.
I had a bit of a meltdown. I wouldn't say week, but 3 or 4 days where I was ready to call it quits. So
Yeah. This is
I want to say that.
also this is your plan B because your first plan was the space repetition app,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Yeah.
decided not to do that, and then you
And
jumped onto this one.
and I think, well, there's a few reasons for that, and probably not worth getting into today. But part of what has been hurting me there is that the space repetition app, the scope is very big, not just because of the app itself, but because that app was the first thing that I started building on top of this CRDT, synchronization data thing. So that was like, I said this already, but I started that by watching a bunch of lectures and reading white papers. And I mean, it was a very interesting but challenging concept. So the point being, that project, the scope of it was really big. So I'd been working on that for, I don't know how long it's been now, a year and a half or something, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been very long. And in the same way that I think the arc of this project just really worked out well, where it was intense, it was hard, but it was short enough to where it kind of stayed within the novelty window, where I'm still just excited about this new idea. It's just something fun, and then it's kind of a sprint, but it's not so long that I get burnt out. The space repetition project exceeded all of that, to where it was going on for so long. I had lost a lot of the enthusiasm, and the novelty was truly over. And I mean, I have to get back to that project. I put so much into it and I care about it, but it's a bit of a different problem. So
Right.
I in a way, maybe I kind of messed up with that. Like, it just didn't quite fit the requirements of this nice, you know, achievable arc of emotional and physical energy and everything. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that. But I think that's a large part of what kind of went wrong with that, is, and the reason why it's not released.
Well, that's what I run into, that loss of novelty for the
Hmm.
idea or the project. That's what I have been running into with all of my paintings. This one included, because
Yeah.
I'm only able to work on them in such weird random times. I mean, I can
Hmm.
go 2 months without touching it, and then I can work on it for a week, and then another month and a half goes by and I don't touch it at all. And the idea just sort of gets abused,
Yeah.
where you're not even really sure what you were going for anymore, So it's, yeah, I know the feeling very well. So you with the space repetition app, just sort of losing the like, wait, why do I care about this again? Or
Mhm.
what matters and what doesn't? And what was I going for? And what do all of these notes mean? And it's just, you lose the mind state.
Yeah.
It just sort of, it decays pretty rapidly. So if it takes too long to do, it it's very hard to get back to it.
Mhm.
So that, well, I don't think you made the wrong decision. I think you rode this wave of excitement for this app, which clearly turned out really well. I mean, we'll see how well the app does, but for you,
Yeah.
I think you did that perfectly. So that was really good. Um, I don't know. I mean, the problem of losing novelty for a project or being able to stay in the mind state, that's
Mhm.
something that the deadline would help with. I don't know. But that's a big problem I've had. And so that sort of saved me with this painting, having the deadline, because I had lost that initial feeling. So with the deadline, I was forced to kind of get back into it and finally wrap it up. Whereas if I hadn't done that, I'd still be working on it for another probably 2 months or something. Maybe it would have turned out better. I don't know, but it would have
Maybe.
taken me a lot longer.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
even know if better is a guarantee,
yeah.
you know? Yeah. So anyway, let's think a bit about that. We've got about a month before I'm ready to start thinking about the next cycle.
Yeah.
So let's think about it and then we'll put something together.
Any last words for this?
All I can say is that this was really great for me, surprisingly so. I thought it would be more of a grind. I thought it would be more of a suck it up, ride the pain train, get it done, but it ended up being pretty wonderful for me. Like it was, you mentioned that feeling almost kind of craving having your mind in that state where you're really focused and it feels really good. And when you're done, you feel really good about it. And just that hasn't really happened to me in quite a while. And it felt really nice. And I want to do more of it.
Yeah, same. Uh, this was really also really, really hard for me.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think a lot of that was not related to the actual work. And some of it was.
You had some
But
crappy circumstances for sure.
yeah, kind of threw me off. But
Yeah.
yeah, this was extremely challenging. I mean,
Hmm.
it was really hard. So
Yeah.
be
It was
proud
great.
of us.
Yeah.